Maria wiped down the marble countertop in the kitchen, her movements slow and deliberate. She'd been doing this for 3 years now, and honestly, some days she wondered why she kept coming back. The Thornton mansion was beautiful, sure. 14 bedrooms, 8 bathrooms, a pool that looked like it belonged in a resort. But beautiful places don't always have beautiful people living in them. She glanced at the clock. 7 in the morning. The family wouldn't be up for another hour at least. That's how she liked it. The quiet hours before anyone woke up were hers alone. No demands, no attitudes, no being invisible while simultaneously being expected to read minds. Maria moved through the house like a ghost. She knew which floorboards creaked, which doors stuck, where the morning sun hit the hardwood and showed every speck of dust. She knew that Bradley took his coffee black with 2 sugars, that Vanessa only ate organic everything, and that Trevor left his gym clothes wherever they fell. Expecting them to magically appear clean in his closet, these were the Thornton children. Not really children anymore, all in their late 20s and early 30s. But that's what their father had called them, Mr. Thornton. Had been different from his kids, kind, real. He'd actually looked at Maria when he spoke to her, asked about her day, remembered details she'd mentioned in passing. When he died 6 months ago, something shifted in the house. It got colder somehow, even though the thermostat stayed the same. The 3 siblings had moved back home, supposedly to deal with the estate, but mostly they just seemed to be waiting. Waiting for money? Waiting for lawyers? Waiting for their lives to really begin. Maria picked up a framed photo from the mantel, dusted it carefully, and set it back down. Mr. Thornton at some charity event. Smiling his genuine smile, she felt that familiar pang in her chest. He'd reminded her of someone she'd lost a long time ago. "You're here early," Maria turned. Vanessa stood in the doorway, yoga pants and a sports bra, hair in a perfect ponytail. She always looked like she'd stepped out of a fitness magazine. Even first thing in the morning, same time as always. "Miss Vanessa," Maria said quietly. Vanessa grabbed a green juice from the fridge, the one Maria had prepared the night before. She didn't say thank you. She never did. Just took a long sip and scrolled through her phone. "We're having people over tonight," Vanessa said, not looking up. "Make sure everything's perfect. Bradley's bringing his business partners, and I can't have the place looking lived in." Maria nodded. The place never looked lived in. That was literally her job. Vanessa left without another word, and Maria heard her footsteps heading toward the home gym. She went back to her cleaning, running the vacuum in the formal living room that no one ever actually lived in. By 9 o'clock, all 3 siblings were awake, and the house felt different, louder, more chaotic. Bradley paced in the study, on some business call that involved a lot of aggressive negotiating. Trevor blasted music from his room, something with too much bass that made the chandelier rattle. And Vanessa had friends over, their laughter shrill as they did Pilates in the sunroom. Maria made herself small, the way she'd learned to do. She moved from room to room, tidying, organizing, erasing any evidence of human existence. That's what they wanted, a perfect house that cleaned itself. Around noon, she was dusting the library when she heard voices. The 3 siblings, all gathered in the study. The door was cracked open, and their voices carried. 2 weeks, Bradley was saying. "The lawyer said 2 weeks, and then we'll know about the distribution." "It's ridiculous," Trevor complained. "Dad's will makes no sense. Merit and character? What does that even mean? We're his kids. The money should just be ours." "There's some clause," Vanessa added. "Something about an assessment period. Like we're being tested or something. It's insulting." Maria froze, her dustcloth hovering over a shelf of books. She shouldn't be listening. She knew that, but she couldn't help herself. "I hate waiting," Bradley said. "And I hate that we have to prove anything. We grew up in this house. We deserve what's ours." There was a pause, and then Trevor laughed. Not a nice laugh. The kind that made Maria's stomach tight. "You know what we should do?" Trevor said. "We should have some fun with this. Shake things up a little." "What are you talking about?" Vanessa asked. "The maid," Trevor said, and Maria's heart stopped. "Think about it. We're bored, we're stressed, and we have 2 weeks of just sitting around. Why not mess with her a little? Nothing serious. Just a prank. What kind of prank? Bradley sounded interested now. Maria's hands started to shake. She set down the dust cloth carefully, silently. We plant something in her stuff, Trevor continued. Something valuable. Then we find it and accuse her of stealing. We get the whole thing on camera, really scare her. Then right when she's crying and begging, we reveal it's all a joke. It'll be hilarious. Vanessa said, but she was laughing too. It's really mean, so, Trevor said. What's she going to do? She needs this job. She won't do anything. And we could use the entertainment. This house is boring as hell, plus Bradley added, his voice taking on a calculating tone if we're being assessed on character or whatever. Maybe showing that we're watching for theft. That we care about protecting our property? Maybe that looks good. Like we're responsible? There you go, Trevor said. It's not just fun. It's strategic. We're actually talking themselves into this. Maria felt sick. She'd worked for this family for 3 years. She'd cleaned up after them, cooked for them, rearranged her whole schedule around their whims. And this is what they thought of her. Not as a person. As entertainment. As something to toy with when they were bored. She backed away from the door quietly. Her heart pounding so hard she thought they might hear it. She made it to the kitchen and gripped the edge of the counter. Trying to breathe normally, Maria had been through a lot in her life. More than these spoiled kids could imagine. She'd lost people she loved. She'd rebuilt herself from nothing. Twice, she'd learned that the world could be cruel. But she'd also learned something else. She'd learned that quiet people aren't always weak people. And underestimated. People are dangerous in ways the overconfident never see coming. She took a deep breath and pulled out her phone. There was a text from her daughter asking how her day was going. Maria looked at it for a long moment, then typed back, "Interesting. I'll call you tonight. Love you." She put the phone away and went back to work. Over the next few days, she watched the 3 siblings prepare their little prank. They thought they were being subtle, but Maria noticed everything. The way Trevor kept checking the hidden cameras he'd installed. The way Vanessa had pulled out an expensive bracelet Maria had never seen her wear before. The way Bradley kept practicing his angry face in the mirror, preparing for his big performance. They had no idea who they were dealing with. None at all. And that was going to be their biggest mistake. Maria folded towels in the laundry room and allowed herself the smallest smile. She'd been patient for 3 years. She could be patient for a few more days, after all. She'd learned a long time ago that the best way to handle people who underestimate you is simple. You let them. You let them make their plans, spring their traps. Reveal exactly who they are, and then you show them who you really are. The bracelet appeared in her cleaning cart on a Thursday morning, right on schedule. Maria saw it immediately, nestled between the furniture polish and the microfiber cloths. She didn't touch it. She just looked at it for a moment, then continued her work. Let the game begin. Maria had known this moment was coming. But her heart still raced when Vanessa's scream echoed through the mansion. "Oh my God. Oh my God." Maria was in the upstairs hallway, folding fresh linens. She stopped, took a breath, and waited. 3, 2, 1. "Maria, get down here right now." She walked down the stairs slowly, carefully. "Don't rush. Don't look guilty. Don't look anything. Just be yourself." The woman in her 60s who'd been cleaning this house for 3 years, who'd never taken so much as a sugar packet that wasn't offered. The 3 siblings were in the foyer, and they'd positioned themselves like they'd rehearsed it, which Maria knew they had. Trevor stood by the door, blocking the exit. Bradley had his phone out, already recording. Vanessa stood in the center, holding Maria's cleaning cart, her face twisted in exaggerated shock and anger. "Do you want to explain this?" Vanessa demanded, pulling out a diamond bracelet. It caught the light from the chandelier, sparkling like it cost more than most people made in a year. Because it probably did. Maria looked at the bracelet, then at Vanessa. "I've never seen that before, really?" Vanessa's voice dripped with sarcasm. Because I found it in your cart. In your supplies? This is a $5,000 bracelet, Maria. $5,000. I didn't put it there, Maria said calmly. I don't know how it got there. Bradley stepped forward, his phone still recording. That's what they all say. Do you know how many people we've had to fire over the years? People we trusted, people we welcomed into our home, and they stole from us. Oh, that was a lie. Maria was the first maid who'd lasted more than 6 months. That was only because she put up with things other people wouldn't. I didn't steal anything, Maria repeated. Her voice was steady, but she let it shake just a little. Let them think they were getting to her. Let them enjoy their moment. Please, I need this job. My daughter, your daughter. Trevor laughed, actually laughed. That's rich. You really think we care about sob stories? You stole from us. I'm calling the police, Bradley announced, like he was the hero of this story. He pulled out his other phone, the one that wasn't recording, and made a big show of dialing. Maria watched him. She watched all 3 of them. The excitement in their eyes, the way they kept glancing at each other with barely suppressed grins. This was fun for them. This was their entertainment for a boring Thursday morning. Destroying someone's life, someone's reputation, just because they could. Please don't call the police, Maria said quietly. Please, I didn't do this. Save it, Bradley said, holding up a hand. Yes, hello police. I need to report a theft. The next 20 minutes were surreal. Maria stood in the foyer while Bradley gave the police the address. While Vanessa dramatically recounted the discovery, while Trevor kept recording everything. Zooming in on Maria's face, probably hoping to catch her crying, she didn't cry. She'd cried enough in her life. She'd cried when her husband died, when she'd felt lost and purposeless. When her therapist suggested she needed to find something grounding, something real. She'd cried during those first months of working as a maid. Coming home exhausted and wondering what she was trying to prove, but she wasn't crying now. 2 police officers arrived. A man and a woman, both looking like they'd rather be anywhere else. The male officer, older with gray at his temples, took the lead. Okay, so what's going on here? The siblings all started talking at once, their stories perfectly synchronized. The bracelet had gone missing last week. They'd searched everywhere. And then Vanessa had noticed it in the maid's cart this morning. Clear as day. Obviously stolen. The female officer looked at Maria. What's your side? I didn't take it, Maria said simply. I've worked here for 3 years. I've never taken anything. I don't know how that bracelet got in my cart. Well, it didn't just walk there, Trevor said, earning him a sharp look from the male officer. Sir, let me handle this, the officer said. He turned back to Maria. Do you have any proof of your whereabouts? Anyone who can vouch for you? She's here alone most mornings, Bradley jumped in. That's the whole point. We trust her to be in our house unsupervised, and this is how she repays us. The male officer pulled out a notebook asking questions, writing things down. Maria could tell he was skeptical. He'd probably seen 100 cases like this, wealthy people accusing their help of theft. Sometimes it was real. Sometimes it wasn't. Here's what I don't understand, the female officer said, looking around the foyer. This house has security cameras everywhere. I can see at least 3 from where I'm standing. Don't you have footage of the actual theft? The siblings exchanged glances. Just for a second, but Maria saw it. That tiny moment of panic. Us. The cameras in that section were down, Bradley said quickly. For maintenance. Convenient, the female officer muttered, but she wrote it down. The male officer looked at Maria. We're going to need to take a statement. You might want to call someone. Let them know what's happening. Can I make a phone call? Maria asked. Of course, the officer said. Bradley rolled his eyes. Oh, here we go. The whole innocent act. Maria ignored him. She pulled out her phone, an older model that made Vanessa smirk. Poor people phones, that smirk said. She dialed a number she'd memorized years ago. Richard. She said when he picked up, It's Maria. I need you at the Thornton house. Yes, now. They're accusing me of theft. No, don't worry. Just come. She hung up and looked at the siblings. Really looked at them. Bradley, with his expensive haircut and his fake tan. Vanessa, with her designer workout clothes and her veneers. Trevor, with his smartwatch and his entitled smirk. "You really don't know who I am, do you?" Maria said quietly. Something in her voice made the older police officer look up from his notebook. "What's that supposed to mean?" Vanessa asked, but she sounded uncertain now. "Nothing," Maria said. "Just that you've all made assumptions about me, about my life, about who I am and what I'm capable of, and you've never once questioned those assumptions, 'cause you're the maid," Trevor said. Like that explained everything, and to him it probably did. "I am," Maria agreed. "I've been your maid for 3 years. I've cleaned your toilets and folded your underwear and cooked your food. I've listened to your phone calls and your arguments and your plans. I've been in every room of this house, touched everything you own, and you've never once locked a door when I'm here. You've trusted me completely, till you stole from us," Bradley said. "I didn't steal anything," Maria said, and her voice was still calm, still steady. "But let me ask you something. If I was going to steal, if I was going to risk my job and my reputation, would I really hide a bracelet in my cleaning cart? The cart that sits in the middle of the house all day? The cart that anyone could look into at any time?" The female officer raised an eyebrow. "Good question," her expression said. "You probably panicked," Vanessa said, but she didn't sound as confident now. "You took it and didn't know what to do with it." "Or," Maria said, "someone put it there."
"There, please."
Trevor practically shouted. "Why would we frame our own maid? That's insane, is it?" Maria looked at each of them. "You're bored. You're stressed about your father's will. You wanted some excitement? And I'm nobody, right? Just the help. Who's going to believe me over you?" The silence that followed was heavy. The 2 police officers were watching the siblings now, really watching them. The male officer's eyes had narrowed. "That's ridiculous," Bradley said, but his voice had lost some of its certainty. "You can't just make wild accusations." "I'm not accusing anyone of anything," Maria said. "I'm just stating facts. And here's another fact. My lawyer is on his way. Until he gets here, I'm not saying anything else." "Your lawyer?" Vanessa laughed, but it sounded forced. "You have a lawyer?" "Everyone should have a lawyer," the female officer said. "That's actually very smart." They stood there in awkward silence, waiting. The siblings kept whispering to each other, looking confused and annoyed. The officers took more notes, examined the bracelet, asked about the house's security system, and Maria stood perfectly still, her hands folded in front of her, her expression calm. She was thinking about her daughter, about the life she'd built before this, about the choices that had led her to this ridiculous moment, standing in a mansion's foyer, being accused of stealing by people who had no idea what real loss looked like. A car pulled up outside, expensive, the kind that whispered money instead of shouting it. "That'll be my lawyer," Maria said. Bradley looked out the window and his face went pale. "That's a Tesla. That's a $200,000 car." "Yes," Maria said simply. "Richard has good taste." The front door opened, and a man in his 50s walked in, briefcase in hand. Suit probably worth more than everything Maria was wearing, including her wedding ring. He looked around the foyer, at the officers, at the siblings, and finally at Maria. "Mrs. Caldwell," he said, "are you all right?" Maria smiled. "Just a little. I'm fine, Richard. Though these nice people have had quite an interesting morning." "Mrs. Caldwell?" Vanessa repeated. "Your name is Maria Santos." "Santos is my maiden name," Maria said. "The name I've been using for work. My legal name is Maria Santos Caldwell." Richard set down his briefcase and looked at the police officers. "I'm Richard Chen, Mrs. Caldwell's attorney. Could someone explain what's happened here?" And as the male officer began to recount the accusation, Maria watched the siblings' faces change. Confusion giving way to uncertainty, giving way to the first flickers of fear. They still didn't understand. Not really. But they were starting to realize that maybe, just maybe, they'd made a terrible mistake. Richard Chen didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. Everything about him spoke of quiet authority. From his perfectly tailored suit to the way he calmly pulled documents from his briefcase like he had all the time in the world. "Before we continue," Richard said, looking at the police officers, "I need to inform everyone present that my client has been recording her interactions in this household for the past 6 months." The foyer went silent. You could have heard a pin drop on the marble floor. "What?" Bradley's voice came out strangled. Richard reached into his pocket and pulled out a small device, bigger than a quarter. "This is a recording pin. My client wears it daily on her uniform. It's completely legal in this state. She's recording her own interactions in a place where she has a legal right to be present." Maria touched the small pin on her collar. She'd been wearing it for months, ever since Mr. Thornton had died and his children had moved back home. She'd told herself it was just insurance, just protection. She'd never actually thought she'd need it. "You've been spying on us?" Vanessa's voice went shrill. "In our own home?" "Not spying," Richard corrected. "Documenting her work environment, which, given current circumstances, seems to have been a wise decision. Officers, if you'd like to see the footage from this morning, I believe it will be quite illuminating." The male officer nodded. "Yeah, I'd like to see that." Richard pulled out a tablet and pulled up the video. Maria watched the siblings' faces as they realized what was about to happen. The panic was setting in now, real panic, replacing the fake concern they'd been performing. The video played. There was Maria entering the house at 7 that morning. There she was, cleaning the kitchen, dusting the living room, folding laundry. All alone. Never once going near Vanessa's room. Never once touching the bracelet. Then the time stamp jumped to 8:47 a.m. Maria was upstairs making beds. And there, clear as day, was Trevor sneaking into the storage room where Maria kept her cleaning cart. He looked around, checking the cameras he thought he'd disabled, and then pulled the bracelet from his pocket. He dropped it into the cart, nestled it between the supplies, and walked away. The whole thing took 20 seconds. That's not Trevor started. But Richard held up a hand. "There's more," he said. The video continued. Now it showed the 3 siblings gathered in the study 3 days earlier. The door was cracked open, and every word was crystal clear. Their voices filled the foyer. Trevor suggesting the prank. Bradley talking about how they could spin it as being responsible homeowners. Vanessa laughing about how scared Maria would be. All of it recorded. All of it evidence. When the video ended, nobody spoke. The female officer was staring at the siblings with something close to disgust. The male officer was shaking his head. "So let me get this straight," the older officer said slowly. "You 3 planted a bracelet in your employee's cart, then called us to report a theft that never happened, wasting police time and resources. All for what? Entertainment." "It was just a joke," Bradley said weakly. "We were going to tell her. We weren't really going to press charges." "A joke," the female officer repeated. "You were going to let her think she was going to jail, that her life was ruined, as a joke?" "People do pranks all the time," Vanessa protested. "It's not illegal to prank someone." "Actually," Richard said, "filing a false police report is very much illegal, as is intentional infliction of emotional distress. As is defamation. Shall I continue?" Trevor looked like he might be sick. "Wait, hold on. We weren't actually going to press charges. We were going to reveal it was fake. It's after you terrorized an employee," Richard said. "After you damaged her reputation, recorded her distress without her knowledge or consent for that purpose, and wasted law enforcement's time. Intent matters less than action, I'm afraid." Another car pulled up outside. This one was even nicer than Richard's, a sleek black Mercedes that probably cost more than most houses. The siblings all turned to look, their faces getting paler by the second. A woman got out, late 60s, beautiful, dressed in a designer pantsuit that probably cost $5,000. She walked like she owned the world, or at least a significant portion of it. "That's my daughter," Maria said quietly. "Dr. Elena Santos. She's a cardiac surgeon at Presbyterian Hospital." Elena walked into the foyer and immediately went to her mother, putting an arm around her shoulders. "Mom, are you okay?" "I'm fine, sweetheart," Maria said. "Just a misunderstanding?" A misunderstanding? Alina looked at the siblings, at the police officers, at Richard. Someone want to fill me in? The male officer, looking somewhat dazed by the turn this call had taken, explained the situation. With each word, Elena's expression got colder. You accuse my mother of theft? Elena's voice was dangerous. My mother, who has more money than all three of you combined, of stealing a bracelet. We didn't know, Vanessa said weakly. Didn't know what? That she's a person? That she has a life outside of cleaning your toilets? That maybe you should treat people with basic human decency regardless of what you think they're worth? Bradley found his voice. Wait, what do you mean more money than us? Alina looked at Richard, who nodded. He pulled out another document from his seemingly endless briefcase. Maria Santos Caldwell, Richard Reed, widow of Thomas Caldwell, real estate developer. Estate valued at approximately $40 million. Upon his death 5 years ago, Mrs. Caldwell has been managing those assets quite successfully. Current net worth is estimated at around $43 million. The silence this time was different. It wasn't shock. It was complete total disbelief. That's impossible, Trevor whispered. I assure you, it's very real, Richard said. Mrs. Caldwell came to work here under her maiden name because, after her husband's death, she was struggling with depression and loss of purpose. Her therapist suggested she find meaningful work, something grounding. She chose domestic work because it was honest, physical, and kept her connected to reality. Maria felt all their eyes on her. She'd known this moment would come eventually, but she'd never imagined it would be like this. Why didn't you tell us? Vanessa asked. It almost sounded like an accusation. I'll tell you what, Maria replied. That I had money? Would that have changed how you treated me? Should it have mattered? No one had an answer for that. The truth is, Maria continued, I didn't tell anyone who I was because I wanted to experience real work, real life. I wanted to know what it was like to be treated as a regular person, not as a wealthy widow. And I learned a lot. Like what? Bradley asked, though he sounded like he didn't really want to know the answer. Like how some people think money determines your value, Maria said. Like how easy it is to be invisible when people think you're beneath them. Like how cruelty can be casual when you don't see someone as fully human. Alina squeezed her mother's shoulder. Mom, you don't have to do this. We can leave right now. Not yet, Maria said. She looked at Richard. Tell them the rest. Richard nodded and pulled out yet another document. At this point, Maria thought the siblings might actually faint. 6 months ago, Richard began, Mr. Harold Thornton, your father, revised his will. He added a very specific clause, one that he discussed with my client. What are you talking about? Bradley demanded. What does she have to do with our father's will? Your father and I became friends, Maria said simply. He was the only one in this house who treated me like a person. We'd talk in the mornings, before any of you woke up. He'd tell me about his life, his worries. I'd listen. We became close. He knew who you were? Vanessa asked. No, Maria said. I never told him. I was just Maria the maid, to him. But he liked me anyway. He valued my opinions, my perspective. And one day, about 2 months before he died, he asked me something unusual. Richard took over. He asked if Mrs. Caldwell would be willing to serve as a character assessor for his children. He wanted an outside perspective, someone who saw you as you really were, not as you presented yourselves. He was concerned about leaving his wealth to people who might not appreciate it or use it wisely. The blood had drained from Bradley's face. An assessor. For how long? 3 years, Richard said. The duration of Mrs. Caldwell's employment. She was to observe your behavior, your character, your treatment of others. At the end of the assessment period, she would provide a report to the estate attorney, and that report would determine how the inheritance would be distributed. This is insane, Trevor said. Dad wouldn't do that. He wouldn't spy on us. He didn't spy, Maria said. He asked someone he trusted to pay attention. There's a difference. And what did you report? Vanessa's voice was barely a whisper. Maria looked at each of them in turn. Until today, I was planning to give you a fair assessment. Yes, you were often dismissive and rude. Yes, you treated me like I was invisible. But you weren't cruel. You weren't malicious. You were just thoughtless, self-absorbed. I'd planned to note that you could be better, but that you had potential to grow. Until today, Bradley repeated. Until today, Maria confirmed. When you decided that terrorizing another human being would be a fun way to pass the time? When you called the police and tried to destroy my reputation because you were bored? When you revealed exactly what you think of people you consider beneath you? Alina spoke up. How much money are we talking about? The estate is worth approximately $15 million, Richard said. To be divided among the 3 children based on the assessor's recommendation was worth, Maria corrected. Past tense. The implications of that correction hung in the air like smoke. What does that mean? Trevor asked. Though his voice suggested he already knew, Richard opened his briefcase one more time and pulled out a sealed envelope. This is Mrs. Caldwell's assessment, written this morning after reviewing the footage. I'll be delivering it to the estate attorney this afternoon, but I think you all deserve to know what it says. He didn't open it. He didn't have to. Everyone in that foyer knew exactly what it said. The older police officer cleared his throat. So, Mrs. Caldwell, do you want to press charges for filing a false report? Maria looked at the 3 siblings. They'd gone from confident to confused to terrified in the span of an hour. Their little prank had blown up in their faces in ways they couldn't have imagined. No, Maria said finally. No charges. But I do want everyone here to witness me delivering my resignation. Effective immediately, I no longer work for the Thornton family. She unpinned the recording device from her collar and handed it to Richard. Then she looked at the siblings one last time. Your father was a good man, she said. He loved you. But he was also wise enough to know that love and trust are different things. He trusted me to tell him the truth about who you are. And today, you showed me exactly that. She took Elena's arm and walked toward the door. Behind her, she heard Vanessa start to cry. Heard Bradley say something about fixing this? Heard Trevor asking if there was any way to make it right, but Maria didn't look back. Some doors once closed should stay that way. 3 days after the incident, Maria sat in her actual home, a comfortable townhouse in a quiet neighborhood, drinking coffee and reading the news on her tablet. Alina was there too, having taken the morning off from the hospital to check on her mother. You're trending on social media, Alina said, looking at her phone. Someone leaked the story. The video's everywhere, Maria sighed. She'd hoped to avoid that, but in the age of phones and the internet, nothing stayed private for long. How bad is it? Bad for them, not for you, Alina said. She turned her phone around. The video had been edited, showing the siblings planning their prank. Trevor planting the bracelet and then their faces when the truth came out. It had 17 million views. The comments are brutal, Elena continued. People are calling them every name you can imagine. There's a whole hashtag about treating service workers with respect. Some influencer named Kristen something is doing a whole series about it. Maria's phone rang. The estate attorney, Gerald Morrison. She'd been expecting this call. Mrs. Caldwell, Gerald's voice was strained. I've received your assessment. And I've also received approximately 47 calls from Bradley, Vanessa, and Trevor Thornton in the past 72 hours. They're desperate to speak with you. I have nothing to say to them, Maria said. They're claiming you've been unfair, that one mistake shouldn't define their entire character, that their father would want them to have a second chance. What do you think their father would want? Maria asked. There was a long pause. Honestly, I think Harold knew exactly what he was doing when he added that clause. He loved his children, but he wasn't blind to their faults. He'd hoped the assessment period might encourage them to grow, to become better people. And instead, they showed who they really are, Maria said. The will is very clear, Gerald continued. Based on your assessment, the inheritance distribution is at your discretion. You can give them everything, nothing, or something in between. Maria looked out the window at her small garden. She'd planted it herself, got dirt under her fingernails, felt the satisfaction of watching things grow. That's what the past 3 years had taught her. That real satisfaction comes from work, from effort, from building something with your own hands. What's the minimum they're entitled to by law? She asked. 50,000 each, Gerald said. Under state law, they can't be completely disinherited as direct descendants. Give them that, Maria said. 50,000 each. The rest goes to charity. I'll send you a list of organizations. Gerald was quiet for a moment. That's $14.85 million to charity. Are you sure? I'm sure, Maria said. Make sure that charities support domestic workers' rights, immigrant families, and programs that help people who've lost loved ones find purpose again. The Thorntons will fight this, Gerald warned. Let them try, Maria said. The will is ironclad. You made sure of that. And I have documentation of everything. After she hung up, Alina hugged her. Dad would be proud of you, you know? The way you've handled all this. Maria's husband, Thomas, had been gone for 5 years, but she still missed him every day. Your father always said that character is what you do when you think no one's watching. Those kids forgot that lesson. They never learned it in the first place, Alina said. Did you see Bradley's statement? He posted it online last night. Maria hadn't, so Alina pulled it up on her phone. Bradley's face filled the screen, trying to look sincere and failing. I want to apologize for my behavior video, Bradley said. What we did was wrong. It was a momentary lapse in judgment, a stupid prank that went too far. But I don't think one mistake should define us forever. We're good people who made a bad choice. We're asking for forgiveness and understanding. Alina made a disgusted sound. He doesn't even mention you by name. And momentary lapse in judgment? They planned it for days. The video had 200,000 views, but the comments weren't sympathetic. People weren't buying it. You know what's funny? Maria said. If they'd just treated me with basic respect for 3 years, if they'd seen me as a person instead of furniture, they'd be $15 million richer right now. All they had to do was be decent human beings. That's not funny, Alina said. That's tragic. Maria's phone buzzed again. This time, it was Richard. Need to see this, he said. Check the news. Maria pulled up a news website, and there it was. The story had gone national. Wealthy heirs lose millions after pranking Maid who was secret millionaire. Read the headline. There was a photo of the Thornton mansion, another of Maria leaving that day with Alina. The article detailed everything. The prank, the recording, the assessment, the will. It mentioned Maria's actual wealth, her late husband, her decision to work as a maid. It quoted employment lawyers about the treatment of domestic workers. It had become a cultural moment. Didn't want this, Maria said quietly. I know, Richard replied, but maybe it needed to happen. Look at the response. People are sharing their own stories about being mistreated at work. Companies are announcing new policies about respecting all employees. This has sparked a real conversation. That afternoon, Maria's doorbell rang. She looked through the peephole and saw Vanessa standing there, alone, looking small and tired in jeans and a sweatshirt. No makeup, hair in a messy bun. She looked more human than Maria had ever seen her. Alina moved to answer the door, but Maria stopped her. I'll handle this. She opened the door, but didn't invite Vanessa in. Hi, Vanessa said quietly. Can we talk? About what? Maria asked. About everything. About what we did? About the assessment. Vanessa's eyes were red, like she'd been crying. Please, I just need 5 minutes. Maria considered it, then stepped outside, closing the door behind her. They sat on the front steps, an odd parallel to all those mornings Maria had arrived at the Thornton mansion before anyone else was awake. I lost everything, Vanessa said. My sponsors dropped me. All of them. I had deals worth $500,000 a year, and they're gone. Brands don't want to be associated with me anymore. I'm a joke. A meme. I'm sorry to hear that, Maria said, and she meant it. She took no pleasure in their suffering. Are you, though? Vanessa looked at her. After how we treated you? Maria thought about it. Yes, I am. Because I'm not interested in revenge. I never was. Then why? Vanessa's voice cracked. Why take away the inheritance? That was our father's money. He wanted us to have it. Wanted you to earn it, Maria corrected. There's a difference. And you had 3 years to show him, through me, that you deserved it. We didn't know, Vanessa said. We didn't know you were watching. We didn't know it mattered. That's exactly the problem, Maria said gently. It shouldn't have mattered. You should have treated me well because I'm a human being, not because someone might be watching or because there might be consequences. That's what your father wanted to know. Who you are when you think it doesn't matter.
Amasa
Was crying now, really crying. I'm not a bad person. I know you think I am, but I'm not. I don't know. I grew up with money. I grew up thinking that's what made people valuable. I never questioned it. Are you questioning it now? Maria asked. Vanessa nodded. I've never not had money. Never worked a real job. Never had to think about what things cost or how hard people work. And now I'm getting hate mail, death threats. People recognize me in public and call me names. And I realize that this is how you must have felt that day. Scared, powerless, wondering if anyone would believe you. Yes, Maria said. That's exactly how I felt. Sorry, Vanessa said. I know it doesn't matter now. I know you've already made your decision about the money, but I'm sorry anyway. For all of it. For 3 years of treating you like you were invisible. For the prank. For everything. Maria looked at this young woman who'd had everything and lost it all in a single morning. She saw something she hadn't seen before. Not just regret, but understanding. The beginning of real change. What are you going to do now? Maria asked. I don't know, Vanessa admitted. Get a real job, I guess. Figure out who I am when I'm not an influencer or a Thornton. Maybe become someone my father would have been proud of, even if it's too late for him to see it. It's never too late for that, Maria said. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Vanessa stood up. I should go. Thank you for talking to me. You didn't have to. Vanessa, Maria said as the younger woman started to walk away. Your father loved you. All 3 of you. That's why he did what he did. He wanted you to be better people, not just richer people. I know, Vanessa said. I understand that now. After Vanessa left, Maria went back inside. Alina was waiting with questions, but Maria held up a hand. Not yet, she said. I need to think. That evening, Maria got a call from a television producer. They wanted her on a morning show to talk about her experience. A publisher wanted to turn her story into a book. A podcast wanted an interview. Everyone wanted a piece of the story. She turned them all down. Mom, Alina said, exasperated. This is a chance to tell your side. Let's talk about the issues that matter to you. I know, Maria said, but I didn't do any of this for attention. I worked as a maid because I needed purpose, not publicity. I assessed those kids because their father asked me to, not to become famous. So what are you going to do? Lena asked. Maria smiled. I'm going to donate the money like I planned. Set up a foundation in Thomas's name. Maybe do some real work. Helping people who are going through what I went through. Grief, loss, trying to find meaning again. No interviews? Lena pressed. Maybe one, Maria conceded. Something small, local. Just to say that this isn't about revenge or publicity. It's about treating people with dignity, no matter who they are or what they do. The next day, the estate attorney called again. Mrs. Caldwell, I have Bradley Thornton here in my office. He's threatening legal action. He wants to contest the will. On what grounds? Maria asked. He's claiming undue influence. That you manipulated his father, and that the assessment wasn't fair. Maria laughed. Not a mean laugh, just one of genuine amusement. His father was one of the sharpest men I've ever met, right up until the end. And I have 3 years of documentation showing exactly why I gave the assessment I did. That's what I told him, Gerald said. But he's insisting. He's hired a very expensive lawyer. Let him waste his money, Maria said. The will is solid. Both know it. But as she hung up, she felt tired, sad. Not for herself, but for those 3 siblings who still didn't understand. Who saw all of this as something that had been done to them, rather than something they'd brought on themselves. She thought about Harold Thornton, the kind man who'd talked with her in the mornings, who'd seen past the uniform to the person underneath. He'd known his children had problems. He'd hoped they'd grow, change, become better. He'd given them 3 years in a test they didn't know they were taking. They'd failed, spectacularly, and now they were learning what their father had always known. That character can't be bought, respect can't be demanded, and dignity isn't determined by the size of your bank account. Those were lessons worth more than $15 million, even if his children were only just beginning to understand that. 6 months had passed since that morning in the Thornton foyer, and the world had moved on to its next viral moment, its next scandal, its next reason to be outraged. But the ripples from that day kept spreading, touching lives in ways Maria never expected. She was in her home office, reviewing applications for the Thomas Caldwell Foundation when her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Mrs. Caldwell. This is Rebecca Park. I'm a journalist with the National Labor Review. I know you've declined interviews before, but I'm working on a story about the changes in domestic worker rights over the past 6 months. And your situation was the catalyst. I'd really like your perspective. Maria had said no to dozens of these requests, but something in this woman's voice made her pause. What kind of changes? Real ones, Rebecca said. 7 states have introduced new legislation protecting domestic workers. Companies are implementing policies about workplace respect. There's been a 23% increase in people joining domestic worker unions. Your story, whether you intended it or not, started something. Maria agreed to meet for coffee. Not a formal interview, just a conversation. When Rebecca arrived, she was younger than Maria expected, maybe 30, with a notebook and genuine curiosity in her eyes. I worked as a house cleaner during college, Rebecca said after they'd sat down. I know what it's like to be invisible, to have people walk past you like you're not even there. When your story broke, I cried, because someone finally saw us. They talked for 2 hours. Not just about the Thorntons, but about Maria's life. Her marriage to Thomas, his death, her grief, her search for meaning. The decision to become a maid, the 3 years of observation, the friendship with Harold Thornton. Did you ever think about quitting? Rebecca asked. Before the prank, I mean. In those 3 years of being treated poorly? Every day, Maria admitted. But I'd made a promise to Harold. And more than that, I needed to see it through. For myself. To prove I could do hard things even when I didn't have to. What would? You say to the Thornton kids, if you could talk to them now? Rebecca asked. Maria thought about that. She'd actually been thinking about it a lot lately. I'd tell them that their father loved them enough to give them a chance to change. That 3 years is a long time to show someone who you really are. That money doesn't make you better than anyone else. It just makes you responsible for more. The article came out 2 weeks later. It was thoughtful, nuanced, and it made Maria cry. Not because of how she was portrayed, but because Rebecca had interviewed dozens of domestic workers who shared their own stories. Tales of disrespect, of being ignored, of small cruelties and large injustices. But also stories of hope, of families who treated them well, the dignity found in honest work. The article mentioned that Maria had donated the Thornton's inheritance to charity, but didn't dwell on the amount. Instead, it focused on the foundation she'd started, the programs it was funding, the lives it was changing. At the end of the article, there was a quote from Vanessa Thornton. Maria hadn't known she'd been interviewed. I lost everything because of what we did, Vanessa had said. My money, my career, my reputation, and you know what? I deserve to lose it. Maria didn't ruin my life. I did. She just held up a mirror and made me look at who I'd become. The past 6 months have been the hardest of my life. I've been working. At a coffee shop, living in a 1-bedroom apartment, learning what it's like to actually work for a living. And I'm grateful. So I'm finally becoming someone I can respect. Maria read that quote 3 times. Then she called Richard. I need the contact information for Vanessa Thornton, she said. Are you sure that's wise? Richard asked. Probably not, Maria admitted. But I'm doing it anyway. She called Vanessa that afternoon. The phone rang 4 times before a tentative voice answered. Hello? Vanessa? It's Maria Caldwell. Do you have time to talk? There was a long silence. Yes, of course, I read the article. I didn't know she'd use my quote. I hope that's okay. It's more than okay, Maria said. That's why I'm calling. I wanted to know if what you said was true. About the coffee shop, about learning to work. It's all true, Vanessa said. I'm a barista at a place called Java Junction. It doesn't pay much, but I'm learning. About work, about people, about what real tired feels like at the end of a shift. And your brothers? Maria asked. Vanessa sighed. Bradley's still fighting the will. Spent his $50,000 on lawyers trying to get more. Trevor took his money and moved to Los Angeles, trying to start some tech company. I don't think either of them has learned anything, but you have, Maria said. I'm trying to, Vanessa replied. I know it doesn't change what we did. I know you have every right to hate us. But I'm trying to be different, to be better. Maria made a decision. What are you doing Saturday? Working the morning shift? Then nothing. Why? Come to my house. 2:00. There's something I want to show you. When Vanessa arrived on Saturday, she looked different. Her hair was natural, no extensions. Minimal makeup. Jeans and a simple sweater. She looked like a person, not an Instagram post. Maria led her to the home office where she'd been working on the foundation. The walls were covered with plans, proposals, photos of the programs they were funding. This is what your father's money is doing, Maria said. She showed Vanessa the scholarship program for children of domestic workers, the legal fund to help service employees fight wage theft, the counseling services for people dealing with grief and loss. Vanessa walked around the room reading everything, tears streaming down her face. This is what Dad would have wanted, not us buying more cars or bigger houses. This, yes, Maria said. This is what he wanted. But Vanessa, I didn't bring you here to make you feel bad. I brought you here because I have a proposition. Vanessa turned to look at her, confused. The foundation needs staff, Maria continued. People who understand both privilege and loss. People who've learned hard lessons about character and respect. People who want to make amends by doing real good in the world. Are you offering me a job? Vanessa asked, disbelieving. I'm offering you a chance, Maria said. The salary isn't much. $40,000 a year to start. You'd be doing real work, meaningful work. Helping people who are where you used to be, but also where you are now. People trying to figure out who they are and what matters. Why? Vanessa asked. After everything we did, because your father believed in second chances, Maria said. And because I've learned that people can change. You've shown me that. These past 6 months, you've done the work. You've learned the lessons. And I think you're ready to help others learn them too. Vanessa cried harder. I don't deserve this. Maybe not, Maria agreed. But your father thought you had potential. He gave you 3 years to show it. You failed that test. But maybe you can pass this one.